lesson, we're just going to review really quickly our different parts of our circle, which should be a very brief review, considering we just did a lesson working with those. So our area is going to be the space that a circle takes up, and the formula for that is pi r squared. And to find the circumference of a circle, you're going to use pi times diameter. Here they used a different formula, just in case you were to ever come across that. It's 2 times pi r. That formula is not used very often. We usually use pi times diameter. Okay, so don't feel that you have to use this formula, but it is one that was introduced in this book. So if you were to come across it, yes, it will give you the same answer. Okay. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and continue working with using a circle, but we're going to be extending on that. Okay, so here we have a cylinder. And the key thing to understand about a cylinder is your surface area of a cylinder is actually made up of 3 pieces. So if I were to take a pop can or a tin can and cut it apart, if I cut the lid off and then I cut the bottom off, I would have these 2 circles here. That middle section is actually a rectangle. Okay, the middle section that makes up the middle part of that can is actually a rectangle. If I were to cut down the seam of the can and unroll it, you would see that I have a rectangle there. Okay, so the nice thing is you understand or should know all of the formulas that you need to know to be able to find the surface area of a cylinder. It's just that you're going to have to piece it together. So as I do these, I tend to draw out my pictures. It just helps me identify the things that I have. Now, this is the formula that you can use. I will tell you right now, not too many of you are probably going to want to memorize that formula. It's a long formula. It's 2 times pi r squared, which would be your 2 circles, the area of your 2 circles. And then it's 2 times pi times radius times height. Really confusing. A much easier way to think of it is, let's just think of in terms of if I were to take a sheet of paper and roll it lengthwise, it would give me that middle section. And you guys all know how to find the area of a sheet of paper, right? So if I took that sheet of paper, instead of thinking of this part of the formula, let's just think of how would we find the area of this sheet of paper. So let's say this was 11 by 8. Okay, how would I find the area of that paper? Well, I would do 11 times 8, and that's going to give me 88. Okay, so then what you have to understand is you also have these 2 circles that are off. If I were doing a can, I would have a circle on top and a circle on bottom that I would have to go through and actually find. And they will tell us what the radius is or what the diameter is for each of these circle situations so that we can actually solve them. Okay, so let's go ahead. Whoops, I guess I'll go to my next slide. Okay, so let's go ahead and practice this. So key thing, we're going to go ahead and, take these apart. Okay, so when I go through and I pull this apart, if I pull this out, you will see that it actually consists of this cylinder that you see consists of 2 circles and a rectangle in the middle. Okay, so we're going to find the area of each of those. So to find the area of a circle, you do pi times radius squared. The nice thing is you only have to do that once because then the bottom circle is an exact copy. So pi is 3.14 times my radius is 4 squared. Okay, 4 squared is 16. I have to remember to always do that first. So 16 times 3.14 gives me 50.24 for this area. So 50.24, okay? Now I'm gonna go ahead and do the area of that rectangle. Well, I know the height of the rectangle or the height of this can, this cylinder, is 3 millimeters. I have to figure out what this distance is. So here's the part that you have to understand. This distance is actually this distance right here. So it's actually the circumference. So we're going to do pi times diameter to get that, and then we're going to find the area of that rectangle. So pi times diameter, 3.14, times the diameter would be actually 4 plus 4 is 8. So we're going to do 3.14 times 8. Now remember, that's just this length right here. So we're going to have to take that answer times 3. So 3.14 times 8, whoops, gives me, for this length here, 25.12. Now I have to take that times the 3. So times 3. For my answer for this blue rectangle is 75.36. Final step is to add my 3 areas together. So I'm going to add 75.36 plus 50.24 plus 50.24. And when I add all of those together, I get 175.84. My label was millimeters, and we were finding surface area, so it's squared. Okay, so this is breaking it down into the 3 pieces. You have 2 circles and a rectangle. So the new part for you is understanding that when you do that rectangle, your one edge is really the circumference of your circle. Okay, so let's go ahead and try another one. Okay, so this one, I'm going to go ahead and draw out the pieces that make up that cylinder. So I have a circle on the top and a circle on the bottom, and then we've got a rectangle in the middle. Okay, and I do this for me. If you ask me for help, you will see me draw the same sketch. I'm very visual. I need to see the 3 pieces. It makes it much easier for me. Okay, so now for this, my radius was 7. So it's pi times radius squared. So 3.14 times my radius is 7 squared. I have to do this part first. So 49 for 7 squared. 3.14 times 49. When I do that, I get 153.86. So this one's 153.86. Okay. My height of my rectangle here, or my can, was 5. And then my distance around is this here. So that's 3.14 times the diameter, which would be 14, because remember, we're doing this, we have to figure out the circumference. Okay, so 3.14 times the diameter of 14 gives me 43.96. And then I'm going to take that times my height of 5. So I need to still multiply that out. So I get 219.8. I'm now going to add these 3 together. And when I add those all together, I get 527.52. The label is feet and it's surface area, so it's squared. Okay, so don't get frustrated on this. The key thing is just to break it apart, break it down into what you already know. Don't think of it as a brand new concept. That formula that is introduced in this chapter in the book seems overwhelming. So that's why I chose